Is this on?
Yep.
Chef snack. This is our end of the year episode. Welcome back to Sweet Heat. I'm Rick, and everything I make on the show is a little bit sweet and a little bit spicy. And actually today, this is one of those dishes that it's gonna be really sweet with a little bit of heat. This dish is really inspired by something that was a tradition in my family growing up. I grew up in Austin, Texas, and every New Year's Eve, we would go to my grandmother's house and she would open the door, she would give me a kiss, and this incredible scent of fried tortillas with cinnamon and sugar and hot chocolate would just like come out the door. And it was one of the best food memories that I think I have. And as always, if you like me, if you like this video and you want to see more, like and subscribe on YouTube, and you will be alerted to every time that there is a new Sweet Heat episode. You probably are going to recognize a lot of these ingredients from the last episode, but you know, it's the holidays. We're supposed to indulge. Don't worry, next time we'll do like an all veg episode. We'll be healthy and also a little bit sweet. But this one, like I said, very sweet. So the sugar is coming from a couple of different places. First, we have piloncillo, because why not? Like, why would we make something without piloncillo? But I'm also gonna be using granulated sugar as well. But in addition, I'm using some really beautiful chocolate. This is 75% cacao. It's really rich, it's really flavorful. And then our heat is coming from cascabel. It's really spicy depending on where you get it in the country, but it has a lot of flavor too. It's one of my favorite chilies. This chili plays well with the bitterness in the cacao, and it also packs quite a punch. And as always, we're gonna use canela because it's really delicious and it's fragrant. And then one thing that I don't often use, in fact, I think this may be the only time that I ever use this ingredient because I'm just not a fan, but it actually works well in this preparation, is vegetable shortening. When you eat a warm buñuelo that is fried in vegetable shortening, that is made with vegetable shortening, it is going to be super flaky, super crisp, super tender, and really delicious. So the first thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna make the masa. So whenever I am baking, and actually in a lot of my savory dishes as well, I use a scale. So I've got my scale, add all-purpose flour. This is 375 grams, which is 3 cups. And to that, I'm going to add some baking powder. This is gonna give it a little extra lift, and that just gives you some like extra bubbles and extra flaky layers. I'm going to whisk this up to make sure that the baking powder is completely incorporated into the flour. And I'm gonna add 80 grams of my shortening. 80 grams is about 6 heaping tablespoons. I'm also going to add 1.5 teaspoons of kosher salt, which is back here, to my hot water, or it's warm water. And the reason why I'm adding it to the water is because I want the salt to dissolve in the water, and that will ensure that you get a nice even seasoning throughout the dough. So I'm gonna give that a little stir to make it, oh, thank you. Makeup. So I'm just gonna give that a little stir to help it dissolve. I will set that aside. Now I get to play with the dough. I love this. You can actually put this in a stand mixer and it will go a lot faster, but it won't be as fun. The technique that I'm gonna show you is not only used in this dish, but it's actually a French technique called frissage. So what frissage means is the smashing of fat into flour. So basically, what you do is you have flour and big pieces of fat, and then you just smash the fat into your palm. And you just keep doing that until all of the fat has been incorporated. And this is what gives you those beautiful flaky layers. All right, it's really nicely incorporated now. So I think I'm ready for the water. So in the recipe, I've called for 1 cup of water. As in any pastry, it's gonna depend on the type of flour you're using and also how humid or not humid your air is. Here at the beach, it's typically very, very humid. And so there are times that I've made this recipe when I don't use all the water, or sometimes if I just dump all the water in, the dough will be too sticky. So what I think is a smart way to do this is only put about 3/4 of a cup of the water in there and then just stir it around. All I want to do is just make sure that the water is incorporated. I think I need a little bit more. It looks like that is good. And so now I'm just going to knead this and incorporate the dry bits into the wet dough. I've gotten just about all of the dry bits off the bottom of the bowl. You can see it's pretty clean. So I'm just going to transfer this to my board because it's more fun to knead on the board. The action of kneading is all about stretching. So we've developed a lot of gluten when we added the water to the flour. And now what we're doing is we're breaking those protein strands. And so that's going to help the dough to stretch out. We're incorporating all of that fat into the starch, and that's going to get really soft and pliable.
Great arm workout.
Yeah. Now, I'm going to show you another technique. I like this a lot. I do this a lot with bread, which is a little bit more stretchy, but this one will stretch a little bit. This is a really great way to get out frustration. There's probably a lot of tension in your life, but make buñuelos and you'll feel so much better. So after all of that, this dough feels so much softer, more pliable. All right, that is what it should look like. Okay, I'm gonna wrap this in plastic wrap and let it sit for 30 minutes to rest. All right, so my dough is rested, and so I'm gonna be a little bit, I don't know, whatever, OCD. Whenever I have to divide something up in pastries, I always weigh it and then divide it up so that I know the specific gram amount. So this, I know that to get 12 buñuelos, it's going to be about 50 grams. So you don't have to do this. You can actually just take your dough and divide it into 12 pieces. The thing that you should do is, because it's very soft and really beautiful and pliable, just make sure that you keep it covered when you're not using it. So there is my little dough ball. I'm just gonna roll it in the palm of my hand. Okay, I'm gonna flatten it out. And because it's really soft and pliable, you don't need to add any flour, or you shouldn't need to add any flour. If it feels sticky, then just add a little bit of flour. And then this is the way that I like to roll them. I used to watch my grandmother. She had this dowel rod, and I think she probably had it for about 60 years. She literally just like did 2 passes, and then she had like this perfect circle. I'm not quite to that stage yet. I do from the center, 1 roll up and 1 roll down, give it a little bit of a turn. And I feel like that's a really good way to make sure that you get a circle. And we want to get this to about 8 inches, which we're almost there. And that's it. And this is your buñuelo.
Ew.
What I'm gonna do before I actually start frying is make sure that my cinnamon sugar is ready to go, because as soon as they come out of the hot oil, I'm gonna need to like sprinkle them with the cinnamon sugar. So I have like a bunch of random little canela scraps, and usually in recipes I call for like a stick of canela. And so with all of these, I decided I'm gonna go ahead and just grind them up. So I have a spice grinder. If you can't find ground canela, which is actually pretty difficult to find, you can just break up some whole canela sticks and then throw them in a grinder and make your own. And I actually love this next part. Smelling. Oh, it smells so good. I'm taking a tablespoon of this. This is a pretty aggressive amount of cinnamon, but I really love the flavor of the canela. And so I'm just gonna put that into 3/4 of a cup of granulated sugar, and then just mix it in there. Make sure that everything is nice and incorporated. It smells like the holidays. All right, now we're ready to fry. Okay, so this is my gigantic chunk of vegetable shortening. This is 600 grams of vegetable shortening, which is about 3 cups. I'm gonna add this to my skillet, which I've been preheating, just because this skillet takes a little while to heat up. And I'm just gonna let that melt. You don't have to use the shortening if you don't want. Oil works just as well. And all I need to do is let that melt, and then we will start frying. All right, so we are at temp. So I have this really cool little instant read thermometer. You can use a candy thermometer, but I think it's just really important to check the temperature. So the temperature that I'm calling for is 375, which is a little bit higher than what you would fry, say, French fries at. This is probably more the donut / fried chicken kind of range. So now the way that I add this in is I'm going to drop it in away from me so that no oil will splatter at me. And you'll see immediately we will get some beautiful puffing. I'm gonna go in and just kind of hold it down because the middle of the buñuelo is going to want to puff up, and then make sure that I get some of the hot oil on the top because that'll also promote some puffing. And I'm just gonna flip it. This is not quite done on this side, but I wanna make sure that I've sealed the other side, and then I'll flip it again for that really nice golden brown color. All right, and that is a beautifully golden brown buñuelo. And we will fry the next one. Okay, that one is perfect. Oh my God, that's mine. We'll see. All right, I think we're done with the buñuelos. So now that my buñuelos are done, we're gonna make the chocolate. So this is my cascabel, and I wanna take the seeds out and I wanna take the stem out. The seeds are gonna give it just some off flavors, and what I really want is the meat of the chile. I don't want the stem. So I'm just gonna open it up. I'm just gonna pull off the top, and then all the seeds are going to fall out and go all over the stove. But that's fine, we'll clean later. Oh, it smells so good. And this is what the inside looks like. We're gonna drop that into our saucepan. Stick of, what camera am I going to? Stick of canela. I'm just gonna break off a piece, throw that in. I have 4 cups of whole milk. You can use whatever milk you want in this. I mean, you know, we're eating fried buñuelos, so I'm not really worried about calories. That will be the next episode when we have our resolution episode. I'm gonna bring it to a simmer on like a pretty aggressive flame, and then I'll reduce it down to medium low. And then I wanna pull all the flavors out of the canela and the chile, let it simmer, pull out all those oils. We'll let it go for about 15 minutes until it's really, really fragrant.
Yeah, it just looks like milk with pieces of wood floating.
All right, so it's been about 15 minutes. So now it's time for the sweet. We've got some grated piloncillo. I'm gonna pack it in there because I do want it a little bit sweet. And then I have 8 ounces of my delicious 75% cacao chocolate. You don't have to go crazy with the chopping. It'll probably melt a little bit faster if you chop it, but whatever, it's fine. I actually have it off heat because there's a lot of residual heat in the pot already. I'm just gonna stir to melt. And then, as soon as it's melted, I'm gonna eat. Okay, so I picked my favorite one out of the bunch, and it's so pretty. I kind of don't want to eat it, but I also kind of want to, and I might have actually already had a piece, but that's fine, because that's what you're supposed to do. Whenever you make these, you have to have a little chef snack to make sure that, you know, quality control, make sure your guests are gonna be getting the good stuff. And this is New Year's Eve buñuelos y chocolate. Okay, yes. So there's really, I mean, you just kind of go into it. I do actually like to break them, just, I don't know, because it's fun and it looks cool to break them. They are much better when they're like really hot out of the fryer, but whatever, I'm gonna eat it anyway. Fried dough in almost any form is ridiculously delicious, but when it's just crispy and flaky, I mean, okay, look at that. That is what it should look like. You should get these kinds of flaky layers. And the freshly ground canela, which admittedly was probably a little bit extra, but I am so happy that I did it because it's so good. Oh. And not sure how spicy it's gonna be, so let's find out. No burn yet. Oh, there it is. It's interesting because like the cinnamon, the canela, and the cascabel kind of both give you a really gentle warm, but you actually get a little bit more of the actual flavor of the chile, which pairs so well with the chocolate. It's really, really good. I don't actually know which one I like more, but that's a really beautiful thing is I don't have to decide. I can just have one bite of each. I hope this becomes part of your tradition, whether it's for New Year's or for the holidays, or just for funsies. It's a really, really great recipe. It's so therapeutic to make. It's pretty easy and it's really, really delicious. And also kids love them. I know because growing up, I loved watching my grandmother make them. I loved watching my mom make them. And now I make them, and I make them with my little nephew as well. So I hope you have an incredible holiday, and here's to 2021. Happy New Year. Okay, you wanna do the slap?
Yeah.
Yeah. See, it's fun, right?
It is.